The forgotten Sky King, Umberto Nobile's rise, ruin, and a secret the world almost lost. Imagine this, a man floating above the top of the world, an Italian airship, majestic and massive, slicing through Arctic winds, a national hero celebrated across continents. And then, silence, snow, and scandal. This is the real story of Umberto Nobile, a man who kissed the sky, was crushed by fascism, and whose deepest secret was buried under ice and shame. Stay with me, because what happened to Nobile after the crash is something few people ever hear about, and I'll share that secret at the end of this story. The rise of a skybound dreamer. Born in 1885 in the small southern Italian town of Lauro, Umberto Nobile was not born into privilege. He was small, shy, and physically unimpressive. But inside, he carried the fire of invention. He loved machines, and he loved the sky. By his 30s, Nobile was already designing massive airships, the future of long-distance travel, he believed. These weren't just balloons, they were titanic flying ships able to cross continents and seas. And then came Mussolini. Fascist Italy needed heroes, glorious men doing glorious things. What better symbol than a genius engineer leading airships into uncharted Arctic territory? Nobile was everything the regime wanted: intelligent, obedient, and photogenic in uniform. In 1926, Nobile joined forces with the legendary Roald Amundsen and financier Lincoln Ellsworth to fly the airship Norge over the North Pole. The flight was dangerous, freezing, and fragile, but they made it. On May 12, 1926, the Norge passed directly over the pole, the first aircraft ever to do so. When Nobile returned to Italy, he was met with thunderous applause. Mussolini himself greeted him like a brother. Newspapers called him the conqueror of the North. Statues were proposed. Medals were handed out like candy. His fame rivaled Lindbergh's in America, but fame is a fragile thing, especially when it's controlled by politics. The disaster of the Italia flush with success, Nobile decided to do it again. But this time, entirely under the Italian flag. No Amundsen, no Americans, just Italians, just glory. In 1928, his new airship, the Italia, lifted off for the pole, but the Arctic is merciless. On the return journey, the Italia was caught in a violent storm. Ice coated the hull, winds tore at the ship, and then, crash. The Italia slammed into the ice north of Svalbard. Some crew were thrown out, some died instantly. The rest, including Nobile, were stranded on drifting ice. They were alone, in the middle of nowhere, with polar bears nearby. And the temperature? -40 degrees Celsius. But Nobile was a fighter. He built a red tent from what survived the crash. He fixed the radio. He sent desperate signals. The world listened. A global rescue effort began. Amundsen even joined, but his plane vanished, never to be found. Weeks later, a Swedish plane spotted the red tent. A few men were rescued, including Nobile. He had a broken leg, cracked ribs, frostbite, and a guilty conscience. Because he was rescued first, his men were still on the ice. And that was the beginning of his undoing. From hero to traitor, Mussolini's Italy couldn't tolerate failure. Nobile was no longer a trophy. He was an embarrassment. How dare he let himself be rescued? The papers screamed. He abandoned his men, cried fascist officials. He's a coward, they whispered behind closed doors. But they weren't whispers for long. Nobile was publicly humiliated, stripped of honors, hounded by the press. His voice was silenced, his career destroyed. The same fascist machine that had built him now devoured him. So he left. He fled Italy, heartbroken and bitter. He lived in the Soviet Union for a time, helping develop airship programs. Later, he taught in the United States, but always the shadow of Italia followed him. In post-war Italy, decades later, he was quietly welcomed back. Too late. The secret he never told, until the end. Now here's the part you've been waiting for. The secret. For years, the world believed Nobile had made a coward's choice, that he had saved himself before his men. But late in life, in a private interview that surfaced only after his death, Nobile revealed what he never said before. He didn't ask to be rescued. The pilot who airlifted him off the ice refused to take any other man due to weight and weather. Nobile insisted others should go, but the pilot, under orders from the Swedish government and fearing catastrophe, forced him aboard. Nobile had begged to stay, but Mussolini needed a scapegoat. The truth would have ruined the narrative of fascist strength and loyalty, so they buried it, just like they buried him in disgrace. The legacy and the ice. Umberto Nobile died in 1978, in obscurity. But today, historians are starting to see him not as a failed hero, but as a man of vision crushed by the politics he once served. His story is more than a tale of Arctic bravery. It's a tragedy of betrayal, image, and a world that punished vulnerability. In the end, Nobile did conquer the pole. But what he couldn't conquer was the coldness of his own country's heart. So the next time you look at a map of the Arctic, remember the red tent, the drifting ice, and the man who once ruled the skies, only to be brought down by lies. The story of Umberto Nobile isn't just about flying machines or frozen survival. It's about how history can celebrate, then silence, and how the truth, like ice, never stays buried forever. If this story moved you, if you believe forgotten heroes like Nobile deserve to be remembered, please hit that like button, subscribe for more true stories from history's shadows, and share this video. Help others uncover the past they were never told. Got thoughts on this story? Let us know in the comments. We read everyone.